Good morning, YouTube. This morning, I just decided I wanted to do a live stream. I've been waiting for my seeds to come for quite some time. I didn't order that many. I gotta adjust the camera angle. I'm using an ottoman. Maybe I should put it on the floor. I don't know. I'm not sure what's a good angle. And this is all the seeds I ordered for my new garden right here in this envelope. In the past, I've ordered hundreds of seeds from different companies, including Baker Creek, which I really do love. But this year, I just decided to go super small and I just have this little seed haul. It's not that many seeds, but we're going to open it together. I vaguely remember what I ordered. And this is from a Canadian seed company. This is Brother Nature. I really love the name, just like Mother Nature, Brother Nature. And this is based, it looks like, from Victoria, BC. So a very local to me company on Vancouver Island. So let's check out the seeds. I'm just going to rip it open and see. GT Grows It Alaska, welcome. I've been thinking about hydroponics, but I haven't set them up yet. I still have my kits. I moved to a new house and garden in October 31st of this year, and I haven't opened up my hydroponic stuff yet, but I've been thinking about it. And if I do hydroponics, it's going to be a whole new adventure because I'm thinking of setting them up in my garage, which is going to be so fun if I do that. Quite a garden experiment. And it's not like it's a garage, but kind of atypical garage. So, I am having some trouble with this package. It's kind of gross, honestly. Looks very biodegradable, but it is falling apart as I open it up. Thank you so much. Yes, it's so exciting. It was definitely meant to be. This house and garden were so meant for me. So, okay. Unfortunately, they don't have the pictures on here. I'm a little disappointed, but I'm still going to talk about this seeds. So this is a mix of poppies. And if you've seen any of my old garden videos, my rock garden was full of poppies, particularly California poppies, but there were lots of different varieties of poppies. So this is a unique poppy mix from Brother Nature. I'll just read a little bit of the enticing words that they put on the package. You'll be sure to collect your own seeds from this poppy mix. It's striking, elegant, and a contrast of colors, pops in a partial shade or full early morning, late afternoon sun location. Appreciates cool roots, so adding compost to assist them will increase your plant size. So this one actually doesn't say what blends of poppies are in here, but I like that. It's going to be such a fun surprise to see what pops up. So what else did I order? I'll give you a little bit of a hint. Most of these are flowers, if I remember correctly. Okay, not all of them. I actually don't remember ordering this. I'm not sure why I ordered this, or was this like a freebie? I'm not really sure anymore, but I will tell you about it. Native Sun tomato. I have no memory of ordering this, like zero. I did look at vegetables, but I didn't think I was going to get tomatoes because I still have tomato seeds. But let's learn about this. The Native Sun tomato produces clusters of 6 to 8 ounce yellow fruits on very healthy 2 to 3 feet standard leaf plants. Fruits super early, juicy yet meaty and clean, blemish free. Excellent in fresh salads or canned, low acid and mild tasting. These perfectly round fruits are a culinary and eye taste bud catcher. Clusters of 6 to 8 ounce fruits on healthy 2 to 3 foot standard plants. I really wish I had pictures to show you. I just don't. It's a heirloom tomato, and I don't remember ordering it. So I'm curious if they actually included anything to tell me I got a freebie. Let's see. Well, no, apparently I did order it according to the receipt. Wow, the things you do when your mind is tired. Interesting. So, there may be more surprises in here. Next, we have something called laventuria. I cannot say it. This is a flower, and it reminds me of a hollyhock, but it's not a hollyhock. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. It's pink and white mix, stunningly vibrant, hot pink and bright white mix. Oh my goodness, it is a hollyhock. Why did I think it wasn't? I don't know, but it actually says hollyhock. Oh no, it doesn't. Hollyhock like edible blooms. That's why I bought it. I remember now because I love trying edible flowers. And this is another one that I can indulge in. I haven't eaten flowers since the summertime, really. So that'll be so fun to try these edible flowers. Hollyhock like edible blooms on 1 to 2 foot plants, useful in beds against foundations and in patio containers. Provides continuous flowering until late summer. I'm so looking forward to an edible flower that I haven't tried. Next, what do we have next? Ooh, delphinium mixed colors. Now, I tried to plant delphiniums in my last garden and they didn't work out. They didn't even sprout in my rock garden. So we're trying again here. Hello, Maserati Sound Alexander. I'm talking about seeds today. Kelpie Capper's Farm, welcome. Hello, greetings. So yeah, I tried delphiniums in my last garden, couldn't get them to sprout. Now, my research, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I think delphiniums and larkspur are they're either the exact same plant or they're like very, very similar in terms of their plant species, family tree situation. Because I really, really wanted larkspur flowers. And when I was researching seeds, I think some companies were calling them one and the same, that a delphinium was a larkspur and a larkspur was a delphinium. But then when I looked into it further, I think they're slightly different. But I'm not like a plant guru scientist, so I don't really know the difference, but they're not called the same. And I think there is a difference, but they're very, very similar. So maybe some plant person can enlighten me in the actual difference between a delphinium and a larkspur. Let's see. What vendor did you order from? Delphiniums need to be cold stratified. Oh, maybe that's what I screwed up on. I know some poppies, I think it's poppies that need cold stratification, but I didn't know delphiniums did. This is a company on Vancouver Island called Brother Nature. They're in Victoria, BC, and I've never tried their seeds before. So this is going to be super interesting. They are similar but not the same. Both require cold stratification. Okay, good to know. I'm glad it's wintertime right now, so I can do some cold stratification. That being said, we haven't had many cold days here. It has not snowed here where I live. In other parts of the city, we had one snow day and it like snowed for a couple hours and it melted. But where I live, there was no snow. And the freezing temperatures, the coldest we got was like maybe -4 and it lasted like an hour. We've had like 2 frosts, maybe 3 frosts, and they're not like a hard frost. So it's been so warm that I'm hoping it's cold enough to stratify seeds outdoors. I know you can do it in the fridge, but I'm kind of lazy. I did it with strawberries once and it worked out well, but I'm lazy when it comes to gardening. I just want to put it outside and be done with it. You can trick the seeds, put them in the freezer. Oh, you are onto something. I like that. That sounds easier than what I did in the refrigerator when I was doing these strawberry seeds. I put them onto these paper, I think it was paper towels and Ziploc bags, and it just seemed like a lot of work. It did work out really well, but it was a lot of work, and I don't really want to do that again. So I may try that. Put them in the freezer. Great tip. Thank you so much. So next, I have more delphiniums. And this is a blues mix. So that is exciting. Deer resistant. I don't think I have any deer in my suburban. I'm not even gonna call it suburbia. I live in the city now. I live in the heart of the city. I was living in a rural suburban location before, quite rural. And now I live like right in the middle of the city. And it's actually kind of fun to live in the city. That being said, my location is very strange in that when I first bought this property, I was driving down my street. I didn't even have possession of the house. And I've been working a lot of overtime. I'm a nurse and I enjoy my job. And a lot of times they're short staffed, so I pick up extra shifts. And I happened to just glance down my new neighborhood street when I was driving down here, hadn't moved here. And I looked and I saw what looked like to be sheep. And I was like, you've got to be kidding. There is no way there's sheep in the middle of the city in my neighborhood. I thought I've been working too much overtime. I've been hallucinating. Like this is not a good sign. And then lo and behold, I drove by a couple of times and realized around the corner there is a fence. And on the fence it says sheep manure and there's a phone number. It's for sale. So there's actually a sheep farm in the middle of my city neighborhood, which is wild. And I didn't contact them yet for sheep manure because I got all this free horse manure, but I'm still thinking about getting sheep manure too to complement the horse manure, possibly putting it at the top of my new vegetable beds that I'm building. I haven't built them yet, but in progress. Okay, let's see what you guys are talking about. Poppies need cold stratification. You're in Washington, so you have similar growing conditions. Okay. You have to trick the seeds, put them in the freezer. Yes, I am definitely going to do that with that great suggestion. It is seems like a no work kind of situation, and I do like that. So yeah, I'm gonna probably gonna get sheep manure to top off my vegetable beds. I use the horse manure that was not aged in my shrubs for the most part, and I think they're gonna just flourish. And here we have, as I said already, these are blue delphiniums, deer resistant. That's where I went on the tangent when I said there's no deer in this neighborhood. I don't think there is. Tons of birds. Like I've never seen birds like this in my life. So many different birds, mostly larks, the occasional crow, and occasionally other birds. But for the most part, I have a lot of larks. Hence why I enjoy lark flowers and I want to add them to my garden because the lark birds come here all the time and they're just so lovely. And I just wanted to celebrate the birds of this neighborhood with some lark flowers. I just thought it was kind of a fun, not coincidence, but combination. Lark flowers for the lark birds. I wonder if the birds will enjoy the seeds. I don't know. So that's where that came from. Next, we have, what do we have? Delphiniums, more delphiniums. This one is called I want to say Genevieve, but I think I'm not pronouncing it correctly. Beautiful lavender colored flowers with pure white centers and spears up to 5 feet tall. Wow, they're almost as tall as me. Hummingbirds and bees love the nectar of these showstoppers. Delphiniums make a stunning statement in any garden or bouquet. Can be grown in large containers, but advisable to protect the pot from hot afternoon sun. Well, that sounds just lovely. You have to contend with your geese, chickens, turkeys, something fowl, and peacocks getting into your garden every summer. That sounds like a challenge, but a fun one. Delphiniums are notorious for being tall, larkspur or shorter. I really hope that I ordered real larkspur. I don't remember, but if I didn't, I need to get some because now that I'm certain from you guys and your discussion that delphiniums and larkspur are not the same, I do want real larkspur. Of course, I'm going to plant the delphiniums, but I want a mixture of both. So I'm hoping that I ordered some, but I suspect I didn't. So next, we have lupins. I love lupins. I did try to grow them in my rock garden, but my last rock garden situation was kind of desert like. Like, no, it wasn't the desert, but if I was to describe the overall soil and growing conditions, even though it's Vancouver Island, it was a super, super hot, sunny, full sun location that the property got like 12 to 16 hours of full sun in the summertime, which was nutty. But this location here actually has a little bit of part shade, some part sun. It's kind of a mixture, so it's not hot and dry and arid like my last location, and more moisture, a lot more moisture, which is why I have hydrangeas planted. So I think lupins might grow okay here. I had them in one of the homes and gardens I lived in growing up. In the garden, it was so beautiful. We had the slope and we had all these purple lupins, and it was just so pretty, but I couldn't get them to grow in my rock garden in my last garden. So fingers crossed that they're going to work here. I love the color purple, so I'm hoping that they're going to work. I'm assuming these are purple, but it doesn't actually say. It just says lupin on the package. So it could be a mixture of colors, which is kind of fun. Lupin is gorgeous. This grows wild along, yes, on Vancouver Island, it grows wild too. So it's kind of like putting some wildflowers back into my garden, which I think is so fun. I hope they do well. Okay. Oh, I'm so excited. I have real larkspur. I didn't know if I ordered it or if they even had it. My memory isn't super great, but apparently I did order it. This is a blend called a Rocket Mix. Larkspur is very easy to grow. These prolific plants produce gorgeous mixtures of colored single and double blooms that take on a fluorescent effect in low light conditions. Larkspur does well in rock gardens, beds, and moisture retentive soil. It is a fantastic cut or dried flower. Well, that sounds just lovely. It says zone 2 and up if you're curious about where they grow. Okay, there's this interesting phrase they put on the bottom. I guess the Latin name for larkspur is Consolida, Consolidia, and then some other scientific name that I cannot pronounce. And then they have this little Latin phrase. Consolidia is the Latin phrase to make whole, possibly referring to medicinal properties, which I think is super interesting. I'm going to have to research that if larkspur has medicinal properties. I don't think it's edible. I've researched a ton of edible flowers, but I don't recall larkspur actually being edible. So I don't think I'm going to go out eating it like I have many other flowers, but I'm going to do some research because maybe there is something that I can nibble on. Probably not, but you never know. Let's see what else is in my little package. Oh, okay. I remember now. This is another larkspur, and this is the same actually. It's both rocket mix, and I did that on purpose because I have my rock garden, which is outside the fence. It's not a rock garden yet, but it will be. And I wanted to have larks to celebrate the birds of lark for my neighbors and everything because I just thought it was kind of a neat, not combination, but correlation. Have all these lark birds in the neighborhood and then to have lark flowers that people could enjoy driving by. I thought would be super fun. And then I also wanted some larks in my own backyard flower garden. So that's why I planted, or I'm going to plant lark flowers in my backyard garden. Larkspur can be used to kill lice and crabs. Oh, that is super interesting. I didn't know that. Great information. Thank you. So, next, what else did I get here? Oh, I'm getting all these memories of my shopping experience when I was looking for seeds online. This was all purchased online. And I got wallflowers. Now, I love wallflowers. I didn't know what they were even until I had my last raw garden. And I didn't plant them specifically, but in my last raw garden, I had a whole host of wildflowers and I had planted so many different wildflower blends. And something that grew from my wildflower mixes were wallflowers. And if you don't know what they are, this is the marbled mix. It's a perennial, actually. Beautiful evergreen perennial. And it blooms pretty early in the spring. I'm going to say, like on Vancouver Island, it blooms March, maybe even late February some years. Like it's super early blooming if it's really mild in the wintertime. And they get the most gorgeous flowers. The ones I had in my last garden were kind of burgundy shades of, I want to say reddish orange. And sometimes even the colors would be on the same plant. Like you would have multiple shades of like these dark, rich crimson colors and just so gorgeous and really fragrant too. They were just beautiful flowers. And I think they're not celebrated enough, these flowers, because a lot of people don't even know what a wallflower is. And I think they're just gorgeous. The downside of wallflowers is that in my last neighborhood, is that it being the location that it was in kind of a rural suburban location, there were a lot of wild animals from bears to deer to rabbits that did frequent the area. And I do believe rabbits routinely ate my wallflowers. Now, deer may have also ate them, but rabbits in particular ate them. They would often be munched on. So they're not animal resistant. But in my neighborhood now, I've never seen a rabbit, I've never seen a deer, and most definitely have not seen bears. So I think we're pretty good for wildlife not munching on the flowers. So I think the wallflowers will do well. This is a monarch. Okay, so it says marbled mix, and then it says monarch fair lady, scented goddess. The perfect border plant that is great in beds. This early, lengthy bloomer provides masses of sweetly scented flowers in marbled and solid colors. That's what I was talking about on my last wallflowers. It is kind of a marbled effect. I don't know if I had the same variety, but often you get these kind of mixed color shades, and it's just so beautiful. Plant in a sunny, open position in well drained, fertile soil. Cut back after blooming, but you don't want to cut it back too hard. From my experience, it's more of a deadheading kind of situation. Will bloom as early as February in warm climates. That is certainly true. Scented goddess, and it is indeed. If you want to try a yummy scented flower in your garden, try heliotrope. It smells like vanilla and it is dark purple. I tried those seeds. I talked about this a long time ago on my channel. Something that happened to me, I think it was a year or two before I started making YouTube videos. I went to this yard sale in my city and I felt like I won the lottery because I went to this yard sale and I don't know where it came from, but they had these seed bins, like huge bins of hundreds of seeds. I think I just bought one and there were two of them. There were these big, giant black bins, kind of like a crate. And they were all expired seeds. But I was like, how much does this cost? And they said $5. And there were literally hundreds, if not thousands, of seed packages. And in those seed packages, there were heliotropes. And I tried to plant them, but they didn't grow for me. So what I found was they were from multiple seed companies, but one company in particular, and I will reveal the name. I haven't talked about it before because I never want to say bad things about people or companies or but I'll tell you, just because it was so weird, it was actually Renee's Seed Company. And I don't know if something went bad with them in one year. Like, did they have a disgruntled employee or something? Because the weird thing about those seeds, there were other companies, but there was so many seeds from that particular company, is that in the seeds that grew, I mean, some of them did grow. I found a lot of them to be mislabeled, like completely different flowers from what was in the package or what bloomed. So in my last garden, I sprinkled a whole bunch in different areas of my yard, and there was no foxgloves to be found. And I got a ton of foxgloves that came from those Renee's seeds. So and that wasn't the only surprise. I had a lot of strange garden surprises from those seeds, and they were predominantly from that company. So I do wonder if there had been a disgruntled employee that year that put mismatched seeds into packages on purpose, which is fun if you like surprises. I could see some people being not too happy with that as a result, but it does make me wonder what happened that year in that seed company. Did you cold stratify them? Not sure if we're talking which flower we're talking about. I get surprises like that from M.I. Gardner. Oh, interesting. I've never tried M.I. Gardner seeds. I've been tempted. I mean, there's so many wonderful seed companies out there, whether you're looking international or local. There are many wonderful companies, and it's so fun to try different seeds and different companies, but your garden is only so big too, so you can't put too much in it. Unless you have an acreage or many, many acres of land, and then in which case, I'm sure you have plenty of space for experimenting with seeds. I can't how many times I've ordered one thing and got something else. Oh, yeah, that does happen. I just found this company in particular was full of seed surprises, and I that just made me wonder if there was a disgruntled employee that purposely was putting the wrong seeds in the wrong containers. I don't know, but it was certainly an interesting year when I went through all those seeds. Many didn't grow, but some did, and it wasn't what you expected. You live on 50 acres. Wow, that is so amazing. I am sure you have plenty of room for seed experimentation. M.I. Gardner Seedman video was so funny. Interesting. Maybe I'll go look that up later. I've had good luck with Renee's, but admittedly, I haven't ordered from her a lot. Hmm. Okay. Darth X, I could use 50 acres. I think a lot of people could use 50 acres. If you had 50 acres, out of curiosity, do you have crops? Do you have animals? What is your main production? Or is it more just for fun to have lots of land? I'm always curious on people who have lots of land. What do you do with your land? You could do so much. You could have like cabins and rent them out. You could do some kind of Airbnb situation. Timberland. So it's like a forestry thing. That's cool. I'd grow trees, i.e., nut trees. Oh, I have thought about having lots of land. You could do so much with it. I have this idea a Christmas tree farm would be kind of fun if you lived on the right climate. I have an established fruit orchard. Oh, that sounds super fun. Is it with other things or is it just a fruit orchard? What about blueberries? Do you have blueberry bushes too? 14 fruit trees, but you have a lot of deer and elk. Do they eat the fruits? Is that a problem? Or do they eat the trees? Or do they eat any of it? We're turning 5 acres into a food forest. Oh, that is super fun. I'm going to just put a little plug out there. I don't think he's here right now, but someone who has inspired me tremendously on YouTube is a local gardener, actually. Food Forest Permaculture. He lives in Victoria, BC. And he reminds me of like a scientist from Harry Potter. Now, there wasn't a real scientist in Harry Potter, but I'm trying to think of the character's name. I think he's Haggard. And then there was this other character who was, I feel like he was into seeds. His name might have been Professor Seed, even. I can't remember. I did read all the Harry Potters, but anyways, this YouTuber, Food Forest Permaculture, his name is Howie, totally reminds me of like a seed scientist, kind of like knows everything about fungi and nature. Just a really fun individual, and he has great information on YouTube about food forests. He's created many in Victoria for himself as well as his neighbors and other people in the community, which is so fun. You have two cherry trees, Rainier cherries. Oh, that's cool. Now, I had a cherry tree on my last property, and my issue was birds. I love birds, but the birds ate so many of the cherries. It wasn't super abundant because of the birds. And I did try things like the owl technique, getting all these fake owls or like the shiny objects, put all these shiny objects in the tree. And I found the local birds got so accustomed to them that they didn't really care. You have to beat the birds to the trees. That's probably true. You have blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, polar berries, boysenberries, marionberries, blackberries, cranberries, currants, gooseberries. Wow, that sounds like a berry farm. farm. That is so cool. Can you tell me what is a polar berry? I have never heard of that. Now, when you say polar berry, I think of polar bear. So does that mean it's a white berry? I'm gonna have to Google that a little later. I am super intrigued by that berry. And I'm also wondering if it could grow on Vancouver Island or if that is for a totally different climate. Polar berry is a white blackberry? Really? I am so intrigued by this. I am definitely going to Google that later. White blackberry. Now, is it like a normal blackberry with all the thorns? At Kelp Keeper's Farm, I highly recommend Stella cherry trees if you have space. I have an 8-foot tall, 2-year-old tree grown from the pits of Stella cherries. Huh. If you can grow it here, it can grow there. So you must be in a colder climate. Interesting. Hmm. You guys are having a super interesting conversation here. I am so intrigued by these berries. Boysenberries. I have heard of boysenberries. I don't know if I've ever tried them before. That sounds interesting. I may Google those too. So on this property, my property right now, it wasn't a blank slate, but didn't have many plants when I moved here. I've been renovating like mad and planting things. Planted quite a few different varieties of blueberries. I have planted different strawberry varieties, and I did bring a couple raspberries from my old place that I haven't put in the ground yet. But I'm super interested in getting other types of berries, and these polar berries sound super fascinating. I am definitely thinking about those. Now, Marion berries, is that a cross between a raspberry and something else? Howie, I was talking about you about 5 minutes ago. I was telling them about how you were an inspiration for food forests. So I think people need to check out your channel and check out your food forests. Good morning. This coming year, my new venture is growing rice. Wow, that sounds ambitious. I'm assuming you're in either Canada or the US. You're not overseas somewhere. I didn't know you could grow rice in a more cooler climate. Marionberry was developed in Oregon. It is crossed between two blackberries. Oh, interesting. I've planted loganberries on my old property, and if I remember correctly, they were a cross between a raspberry and a blackberry. I did get a few in one season, not very many. I didn't get any last year, and they were delicious. Very plump, juicy. They're reminiscent of the blackberry more than the raspberry, but then with more of a raspberry flavor. They were really good. But they didn't grow abundantly. Maybe my plants weren't established that well, but, I would probably plant them again. I don't think I brought any with me because I only really had 1 plant. It didn't multiply like the raspberry that you get so many of those little starter plants that crop up everywhere. Just reading the chat. I didn't bring my phone. I'm actually live streaming on my laptop, which I don't do very often. You're in Western Washington State. You have Thai berries and dewberries. Now, those are more for me to research. I'm going to have to go through this chat afterwards and Google all these berries because I'm so intrigued. Food forest permaculture. I will watch the replay waiting on my driver. If I don't see you again, happy holidays, Lisa. Thank you, Howie. You too. Darth X, I need to check if I still have a polar berry in a container or if it's a raspberry. Hee hee. So, out of curiosity, are the polar berries prickly, similar to blackberries, or are they not prickly? They don't have the thorns that a blackberry would have, or even raspberries kind of have those fine little thorns. I mean, I will do my research later, but I am curious. Hayberries. Now that is super intriguing. And dewberries. Not as many thorns, but a few. Hmm. So for all of you people who are growing berries, are you growing them for personal consumption or are you growing them for like selling food or are you giving them away? Do you do canning or freezing? What do you do with your berries? You're also growing Concord grapes and mus muscadine. I cannot pronounce that. Grapes. That sounds super interesting. So for grapes, are you putting them on a fence kind of trellis system, or do you have a gazebo, or do you have like a massive trellis over like a land garden situation? Personal consumption, canning, feed my birds, and I barter with them. Oh, that sounds super cool. What kind of birds do you have? I want to grow thornless blackberries, but I have wild ones that grow prolifically in my backyard. Oh, don't get me started on the wild blackberries here. They were causing some problems on my property, including almost getting hit by cars. But blackberry Mila. I love blackberries, but they have to be growing in the right spot and they can't be causing any safety hazards. So, Vancouver Island is full of wild blackberries and they're so delicious, but they can be problematic too if they're grown in the wrong spot. Cattle panel trellis. And Darth X says, I want to grow thornless blackberries, but I have wild ones that grow prolifically. So I'll tell you the story about thornless blackberries. I lived in my parents quite with my parents when I was in nursing school and in university. We lived on a couple different properties, and one of them was actually not far from the local hospital. And this property, we had a thornless blackberry in the backyard, and it grew so well. But the one thing that happened to this blackberry, and at the time I wasn't into gardening, I was going to school and just studying all the time. The problem with the blackberry is it produced these berries and they were huge and plump and lovely and they were full of worms. And I don't know how they got full of worms or why they got full of worms, but I didn't really want to eat them at the time because they had a lot of worms in them. And I don't know if that's common with thornless blackberries or if it was a bad variety or a bad season, but a few years in a row they did have these worms in them. And I couldn't bring myself to eat them at the time. So I wish they didn't. I don't know. If I knew that they wouldn't get worms, I'd probably plant them on my property here, but I didn't really enjoy all the worms. Cattle panel trellis. You have chickens, guinea fowl, midget white turkeys, geese, and peacocks. You get blackberries there like we have them here. Yes, we do. I have one Concord in a container and I want muscadine, but there's no one here that sells the vines. I'll probably try to grow from seed. Great idea. I started mustangs from seed. Are they doing well? How are they doing? Container. My backyard is 40 feet by 40 feet, so not 50 acres. Hmm. I don't even know what my backyard is because my property is pie shaped. It's literally like a triangular pie. And it's also really weird because it's fully fenced, which I love. It feels like living in a fortress. But I don't even know what to call my backyard versus my front yard versus my side yard. And I have multiple side yards, so it's really, really weird. But I don't know how big the dimensions are. It's 9,000, over 9,000 square feet, but that includes the house. They aren't as prolific as my Concords. They thrive in a southern US. Okay, interesting. Hmm. So, question four. I was thinking about this earlier while I was reading it. The person who has the turkeys, where are you? Going back to the chat, I'm just reading it again. Oh, Kelpie Capers Farm. I have chickens, Guineafowl. I wish I could pronounce that word. Midget white turkeys, geese, and peacocks. So, with your birds, what do you do with them? Are they like a hobby farm, or are they for consumption, or eggs, or just curious what you do with them? Are they just like pets? I'm always curious when people have animals, like, is it more for enjoyability or for business or what the purpose is. Hobby farm and you sell eggs. Oh, that's super fun. So do people come to your farm in like more of a petting sense? In my city, we say there's two that I can think of, these kind of local farms on the peripheral areas of the city where people can kind of come and have like a farm experience. Like the farms do birthday parties and things like that. Like my little nieces went to them when they were little and they could go and pet the animals and play with the animals and just kind of have a fun little farm birthday experience. Is that kind of what you do, or is it a little bit different? You have turkeys, hobby farm, and you sell the eggs. My birds are pets. Oh, that's fun. We do invite people up to meet the birds. I think it's important that people know where their food comes from. Absolutely. I totally agree. But we don't encourage them to interact a whole lot. Oh, okay. Oh, Miss Blackberry. Our rooster will attack, our geese will bite. Okay, well, I guess not all animals are personable. Some are more so than others. What about ostriches? Is there anyone out there? It looks like a few of you people have farms. Is there anyone who has ostriches on their farm? I'm just curious. I know that there's one ostrich farm on Vancouver Island that I'm aware of. I've never been there, but I'm always curious about these birds. They seem so tall. When I was younger, I used to go to, we have a festival, kind of a summer fall festival here called the Vancouver Island Exhibition. And they always have these 4-H barns and all these people from farms bring their animals. And I was always super interested in the ostriches. Our rooster will attack, our geese will bite. I want to get emus. Is an emu different than an ostrich? I think they are, right? They're slightly different animals. We've had emus on Vancouver Island. I think you're right about that. I think I recall, I don't know if I saw them or if I heard about them, but I do think you're right. It's a bit smaller, but they have kind of a similar body structure and their behaviors are kind of similar, I think. Emus are from Australia. Oh, okay. You want to get an emu. So I'm assuming that people who have emus and ostriches are mostly doing it for the eggs, but I don't really know. I mean, ostrich eggs would be massive. I'm reminded of years ago when I used to color Ukrainian Easter eggs with my mom at one of her coworkers' places. She had the most huge collection of eggs, like Ukrainian eggs that she had painted. And she had ostrich eggs, and they were just massive, like the biggest eggs I've ever seen. So I'm curious if people who have ostrich eggs do it for the eggs, or do they do it for breeding the ostriches? Do people eat ostriches? Like, I mean, maybe some people do, but I'm just curious. You don't really see it in the supermarket when you go to the meat section. You don't see ostriches, and I'm not that I've really been to many butchers, but I'm not sure butchers would sell ostriches either, like similar to a turkey. Do they? Maybe they do somewhere. Guinea pigs. Emus are from Australia. So are kelpies. We rescue and raise Australian kelpie dogs. Okay, now we're talking about dogs. Interesting. Guinea eggs are very small but contain the most protein out of any bird eggs. Oh, that is super interesting. Loves Kelpie dog. Shoo, don't tell anyone. I've never heard of a Kelpie dog. I have so many things I need to Google later today. I think that's what I'm going to be doing. It's actually a horrible day. It's not horrible, but the weather is pretty crummy today on Vancouver Island. It's very, very wet and just looks really ugly outside. I was out walking in my garden and I got soaked really, really fast. So I'm probably going to stay in a lot today. Nothing moves up here without my guineas going off and sounding the alarm. So they're like security birds. That's interesting. I had never thought of birds as being for security, but that is definitely an interesting concept. You have more weather headed up your way. Well, I did check the forecast. I think you're right. The forecast says for my area, the next 7 days are rain, 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 and more rain to different levels. I saw the sun listed for like an hour on one day, so that's exciting. Moves up. He's going up and sounding the alarm. Hmm. Two seasons here, summer and rain. You're on Vancouver Island too? Am I wrong? I think you are, Darth X. I feel like you are the comments you've made. You have to either live here or you used to live here. You live down. Oh, you do live here. You live in the same city as me. That's interesting. So there are local people here, and Howie from Victoria is here. That is super fun. Darth X, you just described where I live in the summer and the rain. I think that's common. Vancouver Island of Washington State, probably along this area of the world, is fairly common. You're fairly local, only a couple 100 miles south. That's true. It's not too far away. Well, guys, it's been so lovely spending the last little while with you. I think I need to get on with my day. I always have so much I jam pack into my days when I'm not going to work. So, thank you for joining me and checking out my seeds and offering so many great tips for my garden. And I loved learning about all these berries. I have so much Googling to do later. So I hope you guys have a very happy holiday month in December, and maybe I'll do another live stream soon. I'm not sure. I kind of like the live streams over the edited videos. I'm working on editing a video right now, but I don't do as many as I used to. It's going to be a forest bathing video with a twist. I did film that video, and it's different than all my other forest bathing videos. I won't give too much away yet. It's taking me a while to edit it because it's a different style than I typically make. I think people will enjoy it. I have a feeling if I can get it together in the way that I want it to come together. So I'm hoping it's going to work out well. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever celebrations you guys celebrate. Wishing you all so much love and abundance in 2025. Bye bye. I think this stream is still live. My computer is hijacked by this semi-virus like thing, and I think it's still going. I'm trying to stop it, but I have like this pop up in the middle of my computer. And I think you guys can still see me, and I literally cannot end the live stream. This is kind of weird. I had a bad feeling this was gonna happen. Oh no. I don't know if you guys can see me, but I can actually not see you right now. See if I can get this virusy thing off of my computer. I think you guys can still see me, and I cannot get rid of this pop-up. Darn it. Task manager. The joys of having computers that have problems. Okay, see you.